Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be SSHing into an AWS EC2 server using the Termius app. And yeah, let's get started. So today I'm using my iPad for this because we're doing mostly cloud operations, but you could totally use any machine or laptop if you wanted to. So anyway, I'm going to be moving on to first what we're gonna do. Let me just give you a bit of background on like what are we gonna do, how are we gonna do it. So basically, first of all, our first step will be to create an Amazon EC2 instance with AWS. Then after that, we're gonna use Termius, a pretty nice app that is actually both a virtual terminal, an SSH client, an FTP host, etc., to SSH into our AWS EC2. Let's move on to the first step. The first step is going to be creating an EC2 instance and then SSHing into said EC2 instance. So anyway, I'm going to open up Safari here, and here I'm going to open up AWS. And I'm just gonna sign in. Let's get in to our console. So what you're gonna do now is, and just a quick note that if you want to follow along as I'm doing on a machine or a laptop, just for learning's sake, that's totally fine. I'm just doing this on an iPad to demonstrate how easy it can be with cloud computing. You don't need any you don't need to set up anything, just simple virtual terminal and you're good to go. This is also helpful for when you're on the go and you don't really have any availability for your laptop. So this is also something that you could probably use in your general life as well during when you code. And just for prospect, I'm using an iPad Pro. Let's move on to the actual here. So AWS, and now that we're here, I'm just gonna search up EC2 in the browser and you'll find EC2. Just click that. Once you open up the EC2 page, then we are going to go to instances. We are going to here we're gonna launch an instance. And now, so let's add a name. I'm just gonna call mine AWS EC2. Alright. I'm just gonna say that. Alright, so that's the name. And I'm gonna be using Ubuntu for this. Ubuntu. I'm gonna be using the Ubuntu version 18.04. Yep. 64-bit x86. Yep. Yeah, for instance type T2 micro. Don't do anything above that. You're probably gonna end up breaking your bank and charging yourself way too much. So if you are doing this for production grade, there are options here: T2 micro, small, etc. But for the tutorial's sake, I'm just gonna go with T2 micro. And now key pair. So here in the key pair, this is actually our authentication method that we're going to be using today to actually SSH into our with Termius. So I'm not going to go ahead just yet, but what I am going to do is in a new tab, open AWS, sign in again, and we're going to actually create a key pair, or actually more specifically import a key pair from Termius. So on the EC2 menu on the side, you should see place in network and security key pairs. Now in actions, we're gonna go to import key pair, and then you can just say my key pair. And now we're going to use a key content And to actually create this key, we're going to be going to Termius. Make sure you have the Termius app installed, or if you are on a machine, then you can use any SSH client you want to SSH into it, or even use Termius desktop. But for now, I'm just going to be using Termius here. So now what we're going to do is create a key, generate a key pair using Termius, and then after that, we'll import that said key pair into AWS, link it with our EC2, and then SSH, and etc. So to create a key pair and generate a key pair in Termius, I'm going to go ahead and keychain, add key, generate key, name, let's call it our key pair, type will be RSA, then we're going to want the size to be 2048, and then after that, cipher is fine as AES256. Then after this, we'll save that. Then we'll here, if we go here, not this, we're just gonna want to hold this, edit that, and now our public key, just gonna copy this, make sure you get all of it, including the SSH RSA part. That part is important. Command C that, and now let's go back to here, our EC2 management console, and now just gonna go ahead and paste our entire key into there. Then we'll just press import key pair, and that should be it. And yeah, I think that has worked. So let's include the key pair as the one that we want, right? That's actually no, that's not the one. It was my key pair. Yep, that's the one that wanted my key pair. That's the one we generated. So now that we've done that, network settings, pretty standard, and here you are going to also want to allow all three of these. This is an especially important rule, and make sure you allow SSH traffic from anywhere so that we can SSH into it, but also allow HTTP traffic so that if you ever want to connect APIs or anything else to this web server, it's much easier. I would personally prefer that you allow all forms of traffic. In retrospect, you probably only need SSH traffic, but I would recommend that you enable all three. So anyway, if we go to storage, default is fine, and advanced details, you have IAM instance profile. This is mainly just the other stuff here. All these advanced details, all the other, you can edit based on your preference, but for sake of the tutorial, I'm going to keep all of this as is, and then just gonna go ahead and launch the instance. And press that button. Right, successfully initiated the launch. Alright, view. Now, if we refresh this, we should see our new AWS EC2 instance. That is now pending, and we're gonna have that go ahead and run up for us. And while that's working, and it should be running, yep, let's click that so we can see everything. And yep, so this is all our information of our EC2. So it's running, public address, and we're gonna need this, so public IPv4 DNS, and we're gonna copy this, go back to Termius, yep, save. Now let's go to hosts, and now we're gonna actually SSH into our AWS server. So new host, alias, let's just say AWS EC2 server. We'll just say that, host name. Now our host name is gonna be that public IPv4 DNS address that we copied. So should look something like this: EC2 whatever ID.compute AWS.com. Should look something relative to this. And this should be it. And note yours will look a little different based on whatever ID you'll have, but this for prospect is what you're gonna want to copy. Public IP for DNS. Anyway, in group, the same tags, keep that. Yep, we're gonna want SSH and 22 default. Keep in mind the port will be 22 as the default port for EC2 as well. And whatever port you want to set to open traffic to, you can, but for our sake, we're just gonna go with the default, which in this case has it open to. It's gonna have it open to port 22. If we look at the security, we're using security group. This is the security group that was by default assigned. If you don't already have a default security group, you may need to create one, and it's pretty simple. Just have to go into the inbound rules, look at add a new security rule. These are for TCP, and you'll notice right here for HTTP you want to open to port 80, HTTPS calls 443, and this is the one we need. If you want to look for any SSH requests for this EC2, for this security rule, we're going to be opening it to port 20 to source anywhere. So that's the main security rule that you're going to want to add it to your security group, and then after that assign it to your EC2. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to that, and let's go back to this. Just want to show that. So anyway, yeah, port 22, and for username, since I'm using Ubuntu as my virtual machine, I'm gonna be doing Ubuntu. Password, not gonna be doing password because we have a key pair, this one. And then here, Char said this is just some stuff about how the terminal is gonna look, the virtual terminal. You can just set this to your personal preference. I'm gonna be doing Termius dark, and yeah, so this should work. So we're gonna make sure one more time our instance is running. So let's go back to our Termius, and this should work. So let's save this. Okay, all right, we've saved this as a host. Now let's try running it. It's connecting. All right, let's see. Let's continue. All right. Next. Yeah, all right. All right, that worked. So now we've connected to our EC2 server using Ubuntu. Now, once we're on here, you can do pretty much whatever you need. You could push Node.js apps to this, create a starter app with different cloud services like Heroku, etc. Let me know if that's a video that I should do in the comments as a sequel to this, how to push a starter Node.js app to Heroku on an AWS EC2. Let me know if that is a follow-up that I should do for this video. But for now, I think that's going to be wrapping up today's tutorial. Yeah, so this was how to SSH into an EC2 using Termius.